sitting in the shed since, well, for months now. And that's what I love about the CB500X. Honda reliability just starts right up. Ride it hard, put it away wet, and they just go. All right, it's a great season riding opener today on the Rally Raid CB500X. We got some very special guests here. Look who's here. Wake up, Jenny.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jenny Morgan, with the level 3. And what do we have here?
This is Lisa's level 1 bike, which is just this level 1 suspension, and she's still got her stock wheels on it, although she has a second set of wheels with the TKC 80 tires on as well.
So this is of historic importance because this is the, what do you call it, the proto-genesis bike?
This is the whole reason that Rally Raid make the CB500 kit, because Lisa bought this bike back in early 2014, and I got a chance to ride it, and I was, you know, I'd heard on the internet people really like the bike, and as soon as I rode it I thought, yeah, I can see why they like it. And I did about 1,000 miles on it. I went back to see John and I said, John, I think we found the base bike that, you know, we should definitely do something for that CB500. It really is as good as everybody, you know, all the owners were saying. They really loved it, but I wish it was a bit more off-road and this kind of thing. So that's why we worked on it. So, you know, had I not been able to spend that time on one, you know, it's possible we would never have you know, looked at it in the way,
the whole concept,
with as much enthusiasm as we did. So yeah, so this is the very bike,
the very original one of the Rally Raid concept, and now set up with level 1 kit.
Yeah, it has the engine guard on, and it has the Scorpion pipe on, which you've just got better ground clearance because Lisa's a little bit shorter than I am. So this works really well, and we've taken this over some pretty rough trails in Arizona and in Utah. You know, typical backcountry discovery route type riding, and more technical, you know, some technical things. As long as you pick your line, you just got to be wary that it doesn't have the same amount of ground clearance
as the level 2 or 3. Yeah. And this is Tractive Suspension parts inside of here.
It's got the Tractive fork internals, and it's got the Tractive rear shock, level 1 rear shock. Just the very standard version. I mean, now you can get it with a remote preload adjuster if you want. We didn't have that at the time when this kit came out. You know, the first kit, and it works really well. You know, it's a good budget upgrade, but also for people who are shorter riders,
and you kind of get an idea of the difference in height there between the two bikes. Yours is about what, almost 2 inches taller?
Yeah, I mean,
seat height.
Much it. Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's go. We got a neat 250-mile loop today. We'll go see if we can find a good place to look at Oroville, the Oroville spillway situation on the motorbikes. A lot of folks have been asking about that. So let's go find that and then go head up the Feather River Canyon. Good weather. This is Juan Brown, and I'm in the backyard with a unique opportunity to look at the direct comparison difference between a level 1 and a level 2 Rally Raid CB500X Adventure bike. The folks at Rally Raid have simplified the buying of these kits now to just eliminate the term level 3 kit and instead incorporate the level 3 kit into what's now called level 2. The basic difference is the level 1 kit gets you all new suspension but retains the stock seat height of the CB500X, and the level 2 kit gets you the additional higher suspension, which raises the seat about 2 inches. So when you go on the website today, you're going to have the option of a level 1 suspension kit or a level 2 suspension kit, and a level 1 wheel kit and a level 2 wheel kit. Remember, with the level 1 kit, you retain the 17-inch original stock diameter front wheel. So a level 1 wheel kit is a spoke wheel kit including a 17-inch front wheel. The spoke wheel kit has the options of being tubeless or not, and bling or not, gold or black rims. The level 2 kit comes with a 19-inch, a larger front wheel to match the suspension and everything else, and it also comes with a fender that matches the larger diameter front wheel. So when you do the forks on these Rally Raid kits, whether it's level 1 or level 2, you're getting all new internals into the forks. You remove the stock springs, you remove the inexpensive plastic spacers, you add the Rally Raid springs, you get a longer or better, depending on which kit, dampening rods, and you get a valving shims added to these front forks, which greatly improves their performance. Remember, the stock forks have no valving in it at all. And this work you can do easily if you're handy yourself in the backyard with hand tools. Even if you haven't been into a set of forks for years, these forks are very simple to work on. You just need to be able to raise the bike up. The rear shock on the level 1 kit, of course, retains the stock bike height and is an excellent unit from Tractive Shocks in the Netherlands.
Damping help, and that's why you've got those adjusters, separate adjusters on the
right. Down here at the bottom of the level 1 shock is the adjustable rebound and compression dampening combined unit. Here to explain this a little better is Jenny Morgan. So here to explain this combined rebound and compression dampening a little better is Jenny Morgan, the person, this was her idea in the first place.
Don't blame me.
This got us down this road.
So, yeah, well, basically the level 1 shock has a combined compression and rebound damping adjuster. Now, primarily the main thing you're concerned about is the rebound damping, which is how quickly the spring returns to its full length once it's been compressed. Now, naturally, if you add more weight to the back of the bike, say you've got luggage on there or a passenger, the spring is going to take longer to return to its length. So you've already added some rebound damping, if you see what I mean, just by carrying extra load.
Yep.
So conversely, what you'll probably want to do is back it off a little bit on the shock absorber, so it's back to the same level as it was when you were unladen.
Of rebound.
Yeah, and similar, you know, conversely, if you were normally riding laden but you were to ride unladen, you might want to add a little bit of extra rebound damping to stop the suspension bouncing back too quickly and being a bit of a pogo stick. So that's the primary function of damping. The compression damping is important, but on this kind of level of riding, it's not as important. And when you add, because it's a combined adjuster, when you add the rebound damping, you proportionally add a little bit of extra compression damping. The ratio is about 75 to 25%.
Say that again. You add rebound damping and it adds compression damping. Yeah,
but because it's a combined adjuster, if you're increasing the rebound damping effect, you know, slowing down the amount of oil that's moving through, you're also adding some compression damping. So if you like, the limitation of having a combined adjuster is that you can't change the ratio between it. However, the ratio is set by Tractive because they feel that if you're adding a little bit of air, you'll probably want a little bit more, and conversely, if you want to back it off.
What was that ratio again, approximately?
It's about 75-25%.
And then review for us again the very basics about damping itself. Damping means
is you're controlling the spring. If you imagine a spring has a natural length, when you've wound the spring, it has a free length. And it's natural, every time it's compressed, it will want to return to its original length. What the damping does is slow or allow that to, it adjusts the speed at which that returns to its free length. So that would be considered
increasing. You're increasing the function to slow
it down. Reducing the damping effect, you're speeding it up, so the spring will come back quicker.
Okay.
So that's effectively the principle of damping, of rebound damping. Now, where it changes, and where our level 2 shock has additional separate compression versus rebound damping, is it allows you to tune the suspension slightly more differently. Now, as I say, the whole point of the Rally Raid shocks, the bikes, the shocks designed for these CB500s, is they're meant to be versatile. You know, you don't have to be there forever adjusting things to dial it in. It's not a track day bike.
These ain't racing bikes.
So the idea is it's designed to, you set basically a base level, and the shock copes perfectly well with a wide variety of conditions. You can be riding on the pavement, then you can be on gravel roads, and you might be hitting a few bumps or whatever. And it obviously you don't want a suspension that's so finely tuned that it's good on one thing but not good on another. But where the level 2 suspension gives you a benefit, and I'll show you that, we'll cut to that in a minute, is that it allows you to separate the rebound effect versus the compression effect. And
change that ratio.
Yeah, and change the ratio independently of one another. So the difference with the level 2 shock absorber is
which we're looking at here on your bike.
Looking here. It has the remote reservoir. I've mounted it, just tucked it in there next to the brake reservoir, the rear brake reservoir there. Now this has 2 additional adjuster dials on it. You still have the adjuster dial at the bottom of the shock absorber like you do on the level 1, but on the level 2 shock, the bottom adjuster is only for rebound. So instead of the combined adjuster that we had that proportionally adds or reduces compression damping, that adjuster only affects the rebound, and the compression is now handled on those 2 valves there.
And we got 2 compression.
Yeah, you've got what's called high
speed
and low speed.
Right.
And where high speed and low speed is, it's not how much damping you get if you're riding at 100 miles an hour versus 10 miles an hour. A lot of people don't really understand that. Again, it's about the rate of compression. As we were talking about with the rebound, if you add weight, it'll rebound at a certain rate. High and low speed is effectively small bumps and big bumps. So high speed compression is when you're hitting lots of little washboards and ripples, and it's repeating very quickly, and the suspension's actioning very quickly. Low speed is the big hits. You hit a pothole or a bump and it's boom. So and the reason we give you 2 options to adjust that is you might want it set up quite light for the washboard, because if you have too much damping at high speed, the bike's going to be jittery. So you can back off the high speed damping, which means that when you're hitting small bumps, the suspension's doing all the work. It's soaking it up, boom, boom, boom. It's it's using its travel into the sweet spot in the middle of the suspension travel. But you can add a bit of low speed compression, because if you hit a big bump, you don't want the suspension to go all the way through the travel and bottom out.
Right.
So you'd add a little bit of low speed, perhaps, if you're riding at faster speed off-road, typically the kind of desert riding that we do. You might add a couple of clicks of low speed, just to mean that when the suspension starts to move through its travel with a big hit, it progressively slows down. It doesn't bottom it all the way out. And yet, when you're riding over little bumps, an inch or 2 like washboard, it's still reacting very quickly. And again, that's what. But again, it's not a black art, but it is one of those things that, you've got a huge range of adjustment on there, but somewhere around the middle is about right. I mean, when Tractive designed these shocks, they designed the midpoint to be pretty good.
And they're set, they come out of the box.
They come set
at the midpoint.
Correct. But you may find that if it feels a little bit jiggy over high-speed washboard, you might want to back off the little...
And in practice on these bikes, we find ourselves setting them up and pretty much forgetting it,
yeah,
right?
I mean, really, this is where I think a lot of people... Yeah, on a track day, if you're racing a season of MotoGP, every circuit you're setting up the suspension slightly differently. But inevitably, you're riding such a wide variety of terrain on an adventure ride, even in a single day, that you basically set it in the midpoint, and the suspension is designed, it's valved, to give that range of adjustment. So really, the settings are here to dial it in for your preference, not for the particular ride, but just how you like it. If you like the bike to feel squishy and not rebound too quickly, you can set your damping up to do that. If you want it to feel taut because you're a sporty rider, you might just add a little bit of compression damping so it doesn't blow through the travel so quickly. But once you've set it, it's kind of the way. And what we always say is that you might have 2 settings. You might have your setting for going out on a Sunday on a sporty road ride, and then you might have a setting that you have when you've got your luggage and you're going off on a trail ride for a weekend or something like that, or a long on a trip. And then you probably just, so you think, right, I'm going to ride solo today, click click, I'm going to not ride, click click back, and you'd really only change between 2 base settings and let the suspension do the rest. Yeah.
Very good. Suspension by Jenny Morgan. It was her idea.
Oh yeah.
Here we are. And the big advantage of having a level 1 CB500X is, to me, the stock suspension, it gets easily unsettled. It's a budget suspension. When you take the stock suspension apart and take a look at it, you'll see just how budget it is. And it works really well for what it is. But if you get the Tractive level 1 suspension, it completely transforms the handling characteristics of this bike. And if you're even a long-range commuter like Lisa on this bike, she's got over 39,000 miles on this thing, and she noticed right away a huge difference in performance capability with the level 1 suspension. And these bikes on the used market, you can pick them up for around $4,000, $4,500. But if you add this suspension to it, it's going to feel like a much more expensive bike and handle much better as well. You can get into the level 1 suspension kit for about $1,000 or so, and you can get into a wheel kit for a little over $1,000. Now that's the basic kits, and then the rest of the bits and pieces you buy separately. For example, the engine guard, the foot pegs, Scorpion exhaust,
Brake levers, handguards.
Brake levers, hand guards, raising of the handlebars themselves, and of course all your electronics accessories. They're all available. Rally Raid CB500X Adventure. Welcome to Cherokee, California, or what's left of it. Well, a lot of folks have been asking, where's the best place to view Oroville from the ground if you're out on a motorcycle ride? Well, this is the Oroville Visitors Center, and it's got a great tower overlooking Lake Oroville. Unfortunately, you're kind of looking at the back side of the works. You can't really see the spillway and all the work that's going on down there from this angle. And the road that does get you down there, of course, is closed off to the public right now. But still, this is worth a view up here at the Oroville Visitor Center at the edge of Kelly Ridge. And you get a nice overview of the entire reservoir and all the watershed. And of course, a nice view down the valley, the Sutter Buttes, all the way out to the Coast Range. You can see the Thermalito complex right over there, Table Mountain, and a good view of the backside of the earthen dam here at Oroville. And a lot of good information down there in the Visitor Center. Lake Oroville Visitor Center, Kelly Ridge. And here inside the Visitor Center is a great 4-minute presentation on the whole Oroville spillway situation. And they've got the live cams operating, and you can see them here on the big screen. A lot of good information on Oroville inside the Visitors Center.